Well, the best laid plans of mice and men has been just overturned. We lost internet in the last 30 seconds of coming on. So let's try this. Thank you guys for joining us. It'll be a somber one, but we're going to still talk about golf. So we're going to talk about saying goodbye and doing paint fills and anything else golf related next on What's in My Drawers Golf Talk. All right. Thank you again for watching What's My Drawers Golf Talk. Why is it What's My Drawers? Because old club makers and club fitters are tremendous pack rats, and I'm no different. It's about what's in my drawers in the golf shop, and it's also that we can talk about golf club repairs, reviews, fittings, so your scores can go low. Okay, got that one. So we'll get this. We'll get the, as you guys have seen in the beginning of this. Last week, I talked to you about putting my dad in the nursing home, and as it turned out, he needed to be in hospice care a lot sooner than anybody may have anticipated, and so we got him into hospice care, and he got uh, my sisters came down and got to talk to him while he was still coherent, and it was, you see those things where people just will themselves into doing something like staying until somebody visits, that kind of thing. And it wasn't 2 days later, 2.5 days later, that I lost my dad. And I'd like to thank Robin for going there every day with me, and in the mornings and when I couldn't go, and in the afternoons with me when I could, and who has been supporting. And it's been pretty tough. We've been getting through it. A lot of warm wishes, which is really great. Um, and it's still going to be tough. So, what I wanted to do is I was going to go through and show you some really young and old pictures, but that's just me spouting off about my dad. And what I will tell you is that he's a Depression era kid. And so, everything was measured on cost, and he was in an era where you could do things that you just can't do today. And I mean, like taking chances, meeting people that you could never meet again, those kinds of things. And just as a small example of what he could do or what he did, uh, he uh, when grew up what he will say poor, but not as poor as some. He helped put electricity and plumbing into his house. So that was the era of which he lived in, and stuffed the crevices of their house with paper and whatnot to prevent snow from blowing in. When he got to where he was of college age, he got a scholarship to South Dakota State for music, and it was in this time frame that he got to meet Louis Armstrong and in his band. If you guys remember, some of you are old enough to remember Louis Armstrong and his band that traveled with him. They did a lot of traveling worldwide to spread good word. And he got to meet him, and there's a big story of my dad picking up his trumpet, since my dad was a trumpeter as well. And put that trumpet down, boy. And it goes on from laughing from there. Scared the living daylights out of him. Also, what he did was he got to try out for the Yankees. He's quite the ball player. Now, this was back when, four-fingered gloves, four-fingered gloves and wool outfits were all the rage and doing, when they were doing that. Now, back in that era, again, um, things being what they were, he could make more money working in the meatpacking industry than playing professional baseball. And so that's what he did. And the rest is history. He was able to uh, become a plant manager, plant superintendent. Was one of the youngest supervisors in the entire corporation, and but he worked very, very hard, almost to a fault. And then as he got older, and I was getting ready to leave the house, he had gotten into many marathons, which were 10-milers, and he won a couple in his age category, in the 40 and 50-year-old category, to the point, for those of you guys who might even know this, that just before the Indianapolis 500, they have what's called the Indy Mini. And in the Indy Mini, they have you go and you run around in Indianapolis, and you finish the last couple of miles on the track. First time he did it, he finished third in his age category. They called him back. Now they only had it was under 1,000 runners. And then the second time he did it, they called him back because of how he finished. And the next year there was somewhere around 5,000 runners, and he still finished third in his age category. So, he's quite the runner type. And then he retired at age 67, and then became a consultant for a lot of the larger brands in the meatpacking industry to help folks to become more efficient and make their monies. And then the rest is history. He was in Iowa, and my mom, they had divorced, and she had passed, and he had his partner, she had passed, so we had convinced him to come next door. And that was 8 years to the day. And so that was where he goes. So as you guys have seen, he's been out with me out onto the golf course. That's Crown Hill. When it was a little cool. He was always cold or warm-blooded, so it got cold. Always like the happy hour. Happy hour was a must for him. No matter where he went, traveling was always centered around stopping at happy hour so that you could sit and relax and see what was going on for the day. There he is. That was at my littlest sister's wedding. And this was kind of the beginning of where he couldn't walk as far, but he stood up and towed the mark and was able to escort my sister down the aisle, so to speak, even though it was sand laden, and was able to go out there, and he had a great time. He was a devout Nebraska Cornhusker. That was a totem that my other sister had bought him, and it was crazy about the golf range. He liked the golf range. And that was one of our first golf carts that he would take us around, and behind him was the range, and he'd go out there and pick golf balls. And that was my little sister. And then we also talked about, the typical American family, where we talked about, at happy hour, the other American thing about guns. You can see I'm showing him a Taurus Raging Judge here, and he was wanting to know how the thing worked because it was massively heavy. He also enjoyed family. As you can see right there, cousins of his, and then my other sister and her kids. And then, of course, he was a comic as well. As you can see, this was out onto the range yet again, where he needed a hat to keep his head warm. So we had one other one, looked like a leather Nebraska football helmet, but it wouldn't fit. And that's with my grandson, his great-grandson. And then when the sun was getting high, I always had this. We bought him this cowboy hat, and underneath had the stars and stripes under it. He just thought that was the bee's knees. And he was also quite into golf, even when he could stand up. He never called himself a golfer, but he always liked to dabble with it. He gave me his last set, which didn't help me because I'm left-handed and he's right-handed, but one of the original Wilson Dynapowers of all things. Can you believe that? And then last but not least, he got out there with me and my two boys when we were playing, and for the life of me, I have no idea where this is at. But I think it might be somewhere in northern Ohio, but I'm not real sure. Anyway, so he's a golfer. So he liked being outdoors. He was a wise individual. Even for his years, he wasn't very technologically advanced, as most people in their 80s are not, but they adapt extraordinarily well. And but street smarts, the stories that we were told about things that he gotten away with, absolutely insane. So for that one, a different glass today. Charlie, I got a little antique 107 in here. Found some. This is not the end or the beginning, as way bourbon in life is, but to my dad, if you guys are out there too watching, hold up a glass. Dad, you'll be missed, but not forgotten. Salute. All righty, we got through that. Look at that. I had to stop for a few seconds. It got me. All righty. The topic of today is paint fill. I figure with Bones McGolf here, he could always use a touch up, but paint fill. So the reason why is, I'm going to show you, is we have a customer that I am always switching wedge heads over with, and his last set were some black TaylorMades. Now he's got, wrong one. These are the old ones. So we'll go through that one here in a moment. There we go. So he got some new high toes. There's the high toe. And they were all, you see that it's got white paint on the back. It's got white paint on the toe. It's got white paint on the actual toe, on the sole toe. Anyway, this one had black everywhere. And he wanted this to match all the other ones because he had another one that looked white. So we turned it around. And now that's got white on it. That's got white on it. And that's got white on it. So how does one go about doing that? I see things about paint fill, and some clown will come up there and go, "Oh, just go get some testers. Everything works just fine. It works great." And just all you do is throw it on top of there. Yeah, if you're a rookie, now the reason why it's called paint fill is because you got to fill the void. These things aren't flat. If you just don't throw paint over top of that and go and expect it to stay. Now, if you're doing it to decorate it and think it's going to come off, then yeah, go get the tester, slap some stuff on there and go. But if you really want to know how to do this and you really want to, keep it so it lasts long, this is how you do it. Number one is you're going to need some acetone, or we call it nail polish remover. Acetone works better. And what you're going to do in any one of these cases, there, or even there, is you get a piece of about 2x2 paper towel soaking with this acetone, and you will dab it across the paint. You dab it across the paint. You'll dab it across here, you'll dab it across there, and you'll dab it across there. Okay? What's that doing is acetone likes paint. It likes to eat paint. Could you use paint remover? Probably, but you got to watch what you're putting it on, and particularly if this thing has a coating that might look like paint to that stuff, where acetone doesn't do that, okay? So what you do is it does that, and then what it does is it softens that paint. Now, in some cases, if it's a wide enough lettering, you might be able to just wipe it out with some more of the same, more of that acetone with the paper towel. You might be able to get it out of there. That's normally not the case. So what you got to do is you got to go in there and dig after it. So what do you use? And in some cases, I will use an awl. This is an AWL and awl. Now, awls come in different thicknesses in the tips. I've got another one in there that wouldn't come close to doing this, but this one, if you look really, really close, it's got a really, see that tip right there? That gets in here really, really good if you want to do that. One of the easiest ways to go do it is this guy. And it's a dental tool. Now, this is one of many that I have. I have a buddy who's a dentist, and when he gets done with them, I get them. Now, the other place you can go get these, I found, was Harbor Freight, right? Harbor Freight has these, and they're dirt cheap. They're like, I don't know, $5, $6, and though these things get into these crevices and dig that stuff out like nobody's business. All right. The idea here is when you're digging this out, that the area that you're digging out looks like the area around it. So in this particular case, I got some in my back. When you dig this out, it's going to look copper here. And all you're going to see is where this was engraved or pressed or whatever you want to call it, so that you have that left over. Okay. And then you've got to let it dry because acetone can leave a residue. Okay. You can leave a residue, and when you do that, it wants to fall out. So you can either do one of two things. You get some water, and if you're really pressed for time, get some water, hit it with a heat gun to make sure all the moisture is gone, or just let it evaporate. Give it about I don't know, give it a half an hour, let it evaporate, because acetone is pretty volatile, right? And then you let it do that. Now, the next thing is the paint. All right, the paint. What do you choose for paint? Can you use testers? Yeah, but I wouldn't recommend it. There's other paints that are out there. If you look at Anthony Tarantino, he does all the stuff for Callaway, and he does phenomenal work. And he gets his paints. They come in the sticks, those little paint sticks. He'll do that, and then that same paint he'll get in a tube with a needle, so he can be way more delicate with where he's at. All right. Now I've actually talked to him, and I asked him about several ones, and he says there's all kinds of different ones out there, and that's the one he prefers because it works the way that he works. All right. For me, it's called One Shot. One Shot. All right. This is actually pinstriping paint for cars. All right, and it comes and when I say rainbow, I mean rainbow. All right, of different colors, of different colors that you can get. Just white, black, gray, red, brown, blue, different kinds of reds, fire truck red. There's all kinds of different ones, and then they actually send you a paint wheel on what to mix if you're looking for a particular color. And I've done purples. I've done some really crazy colors, mixing some together, mostly by accident. But that's, hey, take the credit. And so the reason why I like this is because it also dries pretty quick. Okay, pretty quick. So you can use the dab method, which is like taking a nice cloth and dabbing it in there. Don't necessarily recommend that. One of the neatest ways to do it is you get the little plastic bottles with the needle in it, and you squeeze it, and you just follow and trace around the lines until it fills up. That if you've got a nice steady hand, man, you can do some really quick work without doing any other wiping, that or just a real quick wipe, because there's very little that's gotten out. Or you can do what I call the fill and splash method, and now this comes with a warning. It takes a little practice, but hey, you're filling, so if you don't like it, you can always wipe it off and start all over again. So anyway, what you do is you take a small paintbrush, just big enough for here, and what you do is you sloppily fill it up and let it gush out the sides. And what you're doing is you're ensuring that paint level has filled that entire void area to the very top. All right, to the very top. Why? Because the paint's going to shrink. All right, just ever so slightly, but it's going to shrink and it's going to get down below. And that's about where you want it. That gives it that original look. So if I was to show you these two, and that's what we're looking for, right? The original look. Ah, daggone it, wrong one. Where'd the other one go? Oh, here it is. The original look. All right. That's what you're shooting for. And that's what you want. And if you look, those guys they're filled to the top. TaylorMade actually did a really good job with these things. So anyway, you get it, and it's hanging out to the side. Now you got one of two methods you can do from here. You can immediately take another paper towel and just wipe really quick. You just want to go like that. You don't want to press. You just want to wipe. And a lot of times, that's all you're going to need. All right, that's all you're going to need. It's going to look nice and finished off. It's all good. Resist the urge to do it again. All right, because I guarantee you're going to smear it. If you got it on the first shot, good on you. Good on you. And let it set off the side and dry. Again, about an hour, right? If that, but an hour is a good number. And then you can come back with a little bit of acetone on there and give it another wipe if you don't like it. But go in 90-degree differentials in order to ensure that you're wiping the actual thing you're looking for, and not just digging out more paint. All right, that's the first one. The second one is let it dry as it is with all the stuff on the outside. Go that 30 minutes, about 30 minutes will do you, 30 to 45 minutes. Then go get you some acetone on that paper towel, and then you can go kind of back and forth very gingerly, and you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's probably all gone by then. All right, now you can get rear, and I had to on this one. you can get really aggressive and go, oh, I just didn't quite like that, and go, and then what you've done is you've removed all the paint, and then you got to start all over again. Again, that's the whole idea. That's the beauty of this paint fill is you can start over, but what you do is you fill it up, give it a nice, and everything is gentle. You don't dig into it, you just, and then they're done. And then what do you do when you're all done? You friggin' leave it alone and let it dry all the way and cure. And when it cures, it's going to cure rock hard just like paint does, and you should be good to go. Now, just as another example, this was his black wedges, and that was black, and that was black, and he wanted it white so him and his buddy could be Twinkies, I guess. And that's where you go. So what's the hardest part? The hardest part's digging out the paint, right? Because that paint wants to come with you. That paint wants to come with you, or doesn't want to come with you. It likes being where it's at, so you got to dig it out. You might wipe it off, put a little more acetone, get it a little more softened, and wipe it out, and then make sure it's clean. All right, and then when you're all done, you've got a really good product. You can be proud of it, and it'll last for a long, long time. Now you ask how much this one can right here, if you can keep it, shook up and keep it, every once in a while, maybe once every 6 months, come back and do this. Make sure that lid is on tight and air, and that there's no more air really getting into it. But this thing will last you a lifetime unless you are doing a lot of paint fill. Even if you're doing a lot of paint fill, this is a whole bunch of clubs. I mean, a whole bunch. You get into the thousands probably, all right, before you have to go buy another one. Or it'll probably get hard before that you get to the bottom. That's just how well this would work. All right. And I've got at least a dozen different colors that are up there that, the typical stuff, the blues, the reds, the oranges, a white, a black, a red, a brown, a yellow, and I think I got lime green. Lime green's always been a good one, or even the darker green. And then you can use all those and mix them around to get maybe a brown or something like that, or the different shades of those particular colors. And but you can buy these things on Amazon, five for an amount, and it's not a lot. It really isn't. And I would go and get you some decent brushes that you can keep clean. And what I do at the end of each one of my paint fills, I fill the cap of my acetone container with acetone, and I clean it out and wash it out, and wipe it down on another paper towel and throw the other one out. And then you got to wipe out that cap, because that paint will get in there and it'll cause all your other acetone projects to fog up. So you want to, and I know that from experience, but you clean out the cap. So there you go. That's paint fill. Well, that's paint fill about 401. Okay, in order to be able to do that. All right, is it cool? Yeah, it's cool to bring it back to its original shape and size and luster. It's cool to give it some different different things, which it could lead you into customizing. I mean, we've seen where I've seen where guys would take this, and they'll take this area right here where it's nice and shiny, and they'll take a ball peen hammer to it and hammer it out and give it that antique-ish look. And okay, it takes a long time, but you can do that, and you can take into letter stamping and that kind of stuff later on. So there it is, guys and gals. I appreciate you guys listening to me on everything I've been talking about. And again, thanks, Dad. All righty, so let's go see some comments. All righty, all the way to the top. Scott Gordon, sorry for your loss, praying for you and your family. Thank you, Scott. 107, Charlie. Oh, there we go. Get him here. You notice how this is a little different over here? The StreamYard has updated some stuff, and now we got this. And if I come off of it, there, look at that, it comes back. I got another thing I'll show you here later on as we get a little bit more used to what I'm looking at. Got a hair. All right. David Jones says, sorry for your loss. Thank you, sir. Emmanuel, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Chris Parker, sorry to hear about your loss. Please hang in there. I will do so, because we have a good family. There's Phil K. I like the new look here, bud. Sorry for your loss. My condolences, Jim and Robin. You're my prayers. Thanks, John. I appreciate it. Tailor made. Yep. Seth Goddard and the prayers. Thank you, sir. All right. What's the most affordable golf simulator out there, in my opinion? Ooh. Well, it depends on what you're looking for, Taylor. If you're looking to get it all as a kit, where you get the screen, the projector, the thing that's going to monitor everything, a computer, a mat, and all that stuff that comes together, there's not very many out there, and so you have to be very careful on what you're doing. And I don't even think every one of them does everything. About Golf is one. Full Swing is another one. Now these are full kits, mind you. All right, full kits. Uh, as far as affordability, you would probably be heads and shoulders to part it out on your own and get the things that you can. There's a Facebook group out there that is all about these simulators, and one of the guys lives north of me. Sells parts on how to make it easier to use these things. Anyway, one of the best ones I like as far as detection, I've seen work very, very well, is the FlightScope Mevo Plus. Now, I'm a FlightScope guy, so you can take it for what it's worth, but you get it for a thing that's about that big. It really, really tracks well. Okay, it really tracks well, and the graphics that you can put out are pretty amazing. And it also hooks up to a simulator called E6, and E6 is pretty doggone good. All right, and then so you got that. So the next thing you need to do is look for a computer that will handle not only what FlightScope is going to do, which really is not that big a deal, but will be able to handle showing up their projector, running everything all at once. Literally a gaming computer, a good gaming computer would probably do everything you need. It depends on if you want if you want sound, so you can hear birds chirping and the ball falling in the cup and that kind of stuff. Then you'll need a pretty decent speaker system, because the stuff that comes off the camera or off the projector or that comes out of the computer is really not that great. You can probably plug in something and have some external speakers. And then the other part is the hitting area, and that where you hit it into is very important, in that uh, they are now making mats or hitting surfaces that can actually take on some very high detail. I was going to say 4K, but I'm not sure if it's 4K just yet. But you can tell the difference, and I think it's Carl's Netting. He's in Michigan. He sold us out. Well, we got mine. I got my whole cage. The cage you see when I hit into when I do my reviews, that's West Coast Netting. And West Coast Netting gives me the whole cage, and then you can buy this projector screen and it will have different qualities of projector screen, meaning that the tighter knit it is, the more likely you're going to see more definition. Now, if you wanted to go a little bit less, go to Carl's. I think it's Carl's Netting or Carl's Screens. He actually lives and dies by making golf that hitting area, and he can help you out with that to the point where you can put these grommets around it, and you can just have a square and hit right into a square. However, if you have a space where you have 10 or 12 foot for your ball to fly, and the thing that scares me the most are shankers or poles, and that net catches them. Where if you don't have it, it's going to go bounding all over the place. So you got to watch that. And then lastly is the net, or is the hitting mat. You can start out with just a regular old hitting mat, but eventually your arms are going to hurt. So I would say invest into a good hitting mat, and so you can just kind of piecemeal it as you go together. Now, also, I did see that it just hit me, is that FlightScope has a package, It has a package where you can get on and you can get most of those pieces parts. And it's really not that bad. So I would check with them first. All righty. John, what do you say? Condolences. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. And South Dakota, right? That's where my dad went for South Dakota State. Go Jackrabbits. Prayers to you and your family. Thank you, buddy. He's in a better place, Jim, to have to deal with all the BS in the world anymore. Well, yeah, he was. I will say this: that he, he went to the hospital and the doctors asked him what he wanted to do, and he says, "I'm 88 years old, and all you're going to do is be chopping off parts. So I just want to die." And they kind of got this look, and apparently he's not the first person to tell them that. They nodded their head in a affirmation and helped him. So good for them. Rick Underwood, sorry for your loss. I know how it feels. Lost my father in 22. Yeah, buddy, it's there. Dan Mullins, my fishing left-handed buddy. Thank you, Dan. Now that I've got you all here and you're feeling sorry for me and whatnot, if you would, hit that like button down below. And if you haven't already, subscribe. And that way you can get more of what we're doing here. And as we take the channel a little bit further, I'd appreciate that. All righty. So even talking with my dad, he was actually quite a good putter. He was a self-proclaimed good iron hitter, which from a baseball point of view, which would make all kinds of sense. And but absolutely sucked at hitting a wood. Could not do it. And I tried to get him to hit. I made him one or two clubs, and it was purely a baseball swing. And I said, "Oh, well, now I know why." When he first moved here, I almost had him into a set of clubs, and just absolutely refused to put that elbow down. I said, "Dad, it's not baseball. You got to bring it around." And I said, think about hitting a pull shot." Okay, and just absolutely drill it. He said, "But I never hit a pull shot when I was playing baseball." And I said, "Well, it's funny. You're not playing baseball." And that's about as far as it got. Frank Whelan, thank you, sir. Condolences. It's never easy. No, it's not, but we will get through it. Sorry for your loss. Great memories of playing golf together. Yeah, Hammer used to go out with me even when he didn't play, and he would tend the pin and whatnot. And one of the funniest stories we've got is I was testing a new putter. It was the Toulon Indy, and man, it was a great putter when it first started. And I was putting on a hole, and I was like, I don't know, 20, 30 foot away. And and this ball went right at it. Of course, where the cup had been pulled up a little bit, the ball had stopped and curved off and just stopped right next to the cup. And so I got the camera rolling, and it's back behind us, right? And as we're walking up to it, I'm like, well, I got to tap that one in for par. My dad goes, oh, hell, I'd have just taken that. That was funny. And that's been with us forever. There's Robin. Jonathan Weaver. The hardest and most important job we have is helping our loved ones go into whatever is next, sharing with peace and love. Lord have mercy. Well, thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate that. And then Chad Fett. Thank you, sir. Like the truck. I'm a Chevy guy myself. There's Robin talking about it. Stuart Bearholm. Deepest condolences. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Hey, you guys, I appreciate you guys sending this thing out, and I'm going to keep talking about him as long as we want to talk about him. But if you guys actually have other golf questions, I have some for you. Let me get two more here, and I'll tell you about this one's a good one. All right, there's Deb. How are you? Sorry to lose your parents, sending prayers. Thank you, I appreciate that. And there's Stephen. There's a man. Sorry you're lost my dad in 12. The age of 77, born in 1934. He was a senior chief petty officer in the reserves. Well, you know what? That's funny because my dad was born in 36 and died at the age of 88, and he was in the Army. And that was one of the things when he was in the Army. He had was in Indianapolis. He was a clerk of sorts, and got in with a bunch of guys one of them whose dad owned a series of banks in Indianapolis. His brother was quite the swimmer. They asked him to be the Tarzan of that era because he was close to being. He was like a Johnny Weissmuller. They were looking for somebody to replace him, I guess. And they asked this guy because he could do it. And so I asked him, and they offered him jobs and told him he'd be a vice president. I said, well, why didn't you take it? And he says, well, he thought he'd be taken from him. I said, so I could have been a banker's vice president's son instead of a meatpacking son. He says, yep. And I said, well, there's a bonehead move. And he says, no, he's kind of happy what he's done. I'm like, well, good for you. Richie Jennings, condolences to your family. It's never easy. Lost my dad 19 and miss him every day. Well, very good, and thank you. Prayers and condolences to the family. Thank you, William. Appreciate it. All right, there's Robin. There's Charlie. Sorry you lost Dad. He'll be in your heart forever. He will, sir. I still got the 107 right here. And that's the end of that one. Although I did come prepared because that was a small glass, I have a different one. There we go. So we're going to keep going. Steven, memory remembers playing golf with my dad. I'm sure the same for you. Very much so. Even after that, give it to you. He would, our biggest thing was he was always there, when I was doing my got to break 80 thing. I got to break 80, got to break 80, got to break 80, got to break 80. And he was there, and I shot a 36 on one side, and I shot a 42 on the other. And you never seen a guy that was so proud of watching somebody else do good. I just absolutely, as a learning lesson, I'm glad that he's happy for me, but it's always a learning lesson, everything that he does. Thankfully, Israel, yes, it was. And you know what, Kent, and that there's nothing more true about that, because you sitting there, it really is no life sitting there with, not knowing where you're at and being able to try to communicate and they don't understand you. And, you may be seeing that person may be seeing things that you don't understand. But I will tell you what helped me out was Robin got a term from the hospice nurse that I had never heard of before. And, my group is a whole bunch of paramedics. So they're always telling me terms I don't know. But this one caught my attention. It's called terminal agitation. Now, and I don't want to turn this into a hospice thing, but for any of you guys that are going through it or think you might be going through it, I advise highly to go on YouTube and look up terminal agitation. And there is a hospice nurse on there that explains it extraordinarily well and has 3 real life examples of the different types of what they are and how they progress. That helped me out tremendously to be able to process what I was looking at. And it was right on the money. He did all 3 of those and all at the same time. So that was a big help. Yes, he had brothers, Taylor. And it was funny. He had an older brother named Gordon, which I'm named after, and a younger brother named James, of which I'm named after. So yeah, and the older one, Gordon, he was at the time he was in the Korean War, and he claimed the title as the world's oldest E2 in the Air Force, because every time he got to an E3, they gave him more responsibility. He'd do something to get busted back down until he got out. And my the younger of the 2 was actually worked in Tampa, Florida, and he was in the Army, and he actually was a volunteer firefighter and got Fireman of the Year one year, and worked at the American Legion all the time. Not too bad. Just remember the great times. That's a fact. That's some of those. We, of course, you gather all the pictures and we go through all the stuff. What I did find out that was quite interesting, he had a newspaper from 1949, and it talked about how he and the band was going to compete against other bands. Now, keep in mind, he had a graduating class of 6. So, you just don't get a band out of 6. So you had other classmen, other people in the high school that had to help compete. And so that was something else, and they did very, very well there. Also come to find out that his grandmother, my great grandmother, was one of the founding members of the town that they lived in. All right. Alan Bola, sorry for your loss. Thank you, buddy. Never forgotten. There you go. Ken Jones, your dad did good. Well, I appreciate that, buddy. Love the high toes. You know what? So do I. I'm not a tailor-made guy. That's the wrong damn club. I'm not a. I don't know if I'm a tailor-made guy just yet, but I do like the high toe appearance because of the amount of face area. This is what I like about it: is that whole thing is a full face. That's the reason why I have the ones I've got that are Callaway J grinds. They're the full face that do the same thing. Amazing, and I can use all those lines I can use because there's no telling where I'm going to put that golf ball in that face. So sorry for your loss. Thanks, Mr. Three Putt. Kyle, just want to drop in and say my condolences, my prayer with you and the family. Well, thank you, Kyle. Oh, again, guys, if you get the opportunity, like and subscribe. I appreciate it. Jack Moore, Jack, Scotland. All right. Tough times. I'll always miss my dad. Yep. There's Lawrence. What do you say, buddy? Deepest sympathies to you and your family. I appreciate it. I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys putting all that out there for me. So sorry for your loss. Lost my dad in 2001 when I was 24. I couldn't come home in time. Stationed in Germany. Yeah, that can be. I will say this because I was in the Navy. My second child was to be born. It was Shane, and they did not want to tell me that he was born because we had split the run that we were on in two. So I took off the first half thinking that was where it was going to be. It didn't occur, and it was like 2 weeks later, Robin had Shane, and they thought I was going to leave France and fly all the way home to see my son. And I said, well, although I thank them for thinking that I was going to, that I was that strong of a family person that I would go AWOL to go visit my son. I said, however, as an E5, they did not pay me enough money to go buy a ticket to go from France all the way back to the States within a day's selection and then turn around and make one come back. So there's no way I could have afforded it. There we go. Sorry for lost. Prayers for you and your family. Thank you, sir. There's Deb and Rick. Nicholas Jules Say. I'm saying Nicholas Jules Say. Hopefully I'm saying that right. I'm sorry if I'm not. What clubs do I play? I got a hodgepodge. They're sitting right here. In the putter, I play a lab putter. I think that putter is outstanding. There's another one right with it, a Makefield putter. I think that was also a very good putter. Two different kinds, two different ways of putting, and they both work good for me. In wedges, I play, just like I said, the Callaway J grinds. I'm a staffer with them, and I was testing, and if you guys went back and looked, I tested those guys, those Apexes. Holy cow, nice club. But currently in the bag is some Wilson Dynaforged. Used with the Neos in there. And then I don't do fairway woods, but I have the Smoke hybrids, which I am very happy with. And right now I'm floating. I'm waiting on the next generation of drivers. So what I did is, just for the fun and gun of it, is I took a Wilson TI and I put a Shogun Acra shaft in it, and the thing is an absolute cannon. The Acra Shogun is a real deal shaft. From a feel and performance point of view, obviously you got to get the right one, but bang for buck, I don't think you're going to find a nicer shaft out there. There's Robin talking back to him. Mark Patton, what do you say, buddy? Sorry, Jim, never met your dad, but he must have been good to raise such a great son. Well, thank you, buddy. Appreciate that. All right, there we go. There we go. There we go. Greg Carter, what do you say? Sorry for your loss. We'll be praying for you and your family. Well, thank you. Robin saying hello. Terry Holloway. Hey, sorry for your loss and your family. Well, thank you, buddy. Joe Palace, it's been a while. So sorry. I'm praying for you guys. Thank you. There's Cuz. What do you say, Teresa? Yeah, we're getting by. We're getting by. There we go. Ron G still playing here in Maine, but pick your days. I was wondering about that, whether or not you guys was getting cold. I thought it was going to make the change of temperature because normally playing, it's hit like here, hit and miss where you can go out and play. And so far, other than the 6 inches of rain that we got in that 1 week, you've been able to play every day here. Unfortunately, I've not gone out to play at all, but you could have done it. Like today is got up into the 70s, and tomorrow is into the 80s. So it's just crazy, and we're always doing different things. It is amazing what happens when these things happen in your life that all of a sudden you get busier. You think you want to slow down and whatnot. I detailed his car for my sister, and boy, oh boy, oh boy, did I make that thing look good. Holy smokes. I'm just trying to figure, suppose I ought to charge her for detailing it? No. No. But that was pretty funny. But let me see if I can get you a good picture here. There we go. See if I can make that happen. So this is a 2015, a little over 38,000 miles on it, 37,000 miles on it. And man, oh man. And then that one's just oh, there we go. We got the inside clean. Nobody ever cleans out the cup holders for some reason. Anyway, it turned out really, really well. So it's going to go to a good guy that's going to drive the snot out of it. We'll see if he can get it as long as the Chevy he had. Ah, sorry, dads are special. Yes, they are. Hi, Charlie. Thank you. I'm drinking Jim Beam with vanilla and root beer for Larry. He loved Jim Beam plain with Coke. Yes, he did. Warren Lucky, I'm a huge believer in your work and your channel. If I had the ultimate golf wish, it would be fit by you, and the ultimate golf tribute to your dad as you can only get. I really believe in your site. Well, thank you, Warren. I appreciate that. And cheers to you. Now, this is what I'm doing tomorrow this is a special blend from a place called Jay Mattingly. Jay Mattingly allows you to select from 6 different individual barrels, and then you can mix them to find your very, very own one. This is a rye. My dad did not like ryes. He liked bourbons. And so tomorrow they've made a special opening for me so that we can go down there and do this. And the guy that is going to do it's their head blender, and he is also Irish. So there's going to be a bunch of Irish stuff floating around. But we're going to pick out a bourbon to commemorate him for. All righty. Jeff Mayer, sorry for your loss. Thank you, sir. Jim Beam was one of the first bourbons I ever drank, still do from time to time. It's not bad. Some of that Beam product out there, like the Booker's, is really good. I like it. Some people don't. There's the one you can only get there. It's called Hardin's Creek. I've got one. I just haven't opened it yet. And there's other stuff. That Infinite bottle looks to be pretty cool. That was what drank Larry. Yeah. So while we're on this topic right here, Charlie. So while he was in the nursing home, he was still a huge fan of happy hour. And while he was still, cognizant and still able to do it, we used to sneak a little bit of that vodka, that awful vodka that he likes so well, and some tonic water, and we had it and I would make it in a cup for him, and that would be one of his things. And you want to talk about that would just it would just simmer him down. It was something else. And what I brought with me was a Maker's Mark 46 staved cast strength. Man, if you guys not had that stuff before, is pretty nice, pretty good stuff. And between he and I, we had enough time to go through one, so not too bad. Yep. There we go. Peter, may you rest in peace. Thank you, sir. Robin talking back. MJ Doc, sorry to hear of your loss, Jim. Thank you. Here we go. Jeff Mayer, is the live board the only way to get checked during the winter when there's no access to doing it outside? Well, no. So, this is the live board's like the chicken or the egg conversation in golf. Do you use the live board? The negative saying for it is live boards lie. Because, they're higher, they're going to throw you off, they're going to do all these things. That's a bunch of bunk, in my opinion. However, there is another method, and it's called the Sharpie method. And what you do is, here we go. Let me get one out here so I can explain a little bit better. So what you do is you can either get a Sharpie. It'd probably work a little bit better if you had one of those dry erase markers. Anyway, get your golf ball and you put a line on it, and you do this line, and you don't color it, but you make one good, really good heavy line, and you set that thing down so it's straight up and down. We'll use this as an indicator. Straight up and down, facing the club. So we would take this line, and you would put this here, and you would turn it this way, and then that's how you would hit it. Okay, so then you would hit it, and it would leave a mark on your golf club, and based on how that mark bent, and it was always opposite for me, if it was straight up and down or towards the toe, it would tell you whether or not you need to be upright or flat or just right. The only difference here is I'm not aware of if there's a measurement in degrees to tell you how much up and down you've got to go, where hitting on the live board, you can measure it from the center out, and for every quarter of an inch, you can say it's a degree, and go from there. Space Ghost Perps, what do you say, buddy? Love you, champ. Thank you, sir. Phil K, not a simulator, but useful data, PRGR monitor for speed, carry estimates, and blast motion for attack angle tempo. Yeah, and that's another combination that you can use. I started off with blast motion. In fact, Wilson, which I have right over there, Wilson is using blast motion to help with their fittings. And I've had, that's what I was going to tell you anyway. It's a good start. It needs work. It gets you where you want to go if you can interpret the graphs that they give you. And unfortunately, most of those folks that are handed these things and a fitting cart probably cannot. So you just got to go off of what it tells you. And unfortunately, the weakness of that is the limitation of their options. And once they get more options put in there, it might have something real deal. When they first started, I tried to get them interested in doing something in fitting, and they were still new, and they were all about trying to get PGA professionals on board. So my conversations fell on deaf ears. But it is a neat little piece of technology. Well, the FlightScope Mevo Mini, or the regular, I didn't know they made a Mini. They got a Mevo, and then they got a Mevo Plus. If you got the Mevo's okay. It's for the price, bang for buck. The thing is awesome. Take it to the range, throw it in the back. The cost is minimal, right? The Mevo Plus just has more in it, more tech, more room, more everything, and you can add things on. So if you wanted acceleration profiles, or if you wanted more stuff that like mine gives you, it won't get them all, but if you get the stuff like mine gives you, you can pay for that. Now, you will pay for that. And so your Mevo Mini was in the hundreds of dollars, where the last time I looked, the Mevo Plus was about $1,200, and my FlightScope X3 is around 15 grand. But mine does a lot more, and it has a lot more going on it. The accuracy is probably a lot more. But for simulator stuff and having fun and getting it out there, man, you're not going wrong at all. There we go. Robin saying hello to everybody. Greg Carter, always Miss Robin, talking back. And Robin says, you're welcome. Thank you, thank you. Chris Greenslade, your thoughts are with you and Jim and Robin. We appreciate that, Chris. And from the UK, man, they're all over. I'd like to. Where's everybody from? That'd be fun to find out, because this could be like a world record of folks that are on there. Warren Lucky, I'd like to subscribe for quite some time. This is one of my favorite channels. Jim, you hit close to home for me. Well, thank you. They always talk about that from a YouTube perspective, is that you make it real. I can't make it any more real than that, but it's it's something that we enjoy, something we have fun at. I mean, I'm doing this. This is for me, that I've done this for so many times that it was like no brainer work for me. So it was something to keep my mind occupied, and that's what we've done for a lot of this. One thing, I've been working on a whiskey barrel, a second one, and I've got it completed except for the lighting. And the lighting, this barrel is different than the other one, so it's a learning experience in how to place the lights. And I got the middle shelf to rotate, and that was a neat little experiment, and to go from there. So it's neat, and it's going to turn out good. That might be the other side of my bar. We never know. All righty. Hi from the west of UK. Can you explain what shaft puring is? I most certainly can. Okay, so shaft puring, let's just use this. Shaft puring, here's a shaft. So what a shaft puring does, that is a computer-oriented machine, okay? And what it does is it clamps on, it uses a lathe clamp, a 4-jaw lathe clamp, and it comes out and it grabs it right here. Then he comes to the other end. Obviously, this will not be on here. And then there's a weight or a nodule at the end. And the machine comes in and it will do certain things. It will rotate and go tink and do some testing, tink, do some testing, tink, do some testing, tink, do some testing, until it goes 360. Then what it gives you is a look at the shaft from this direction to see how it ovals or where the strong part of it is. Then it will also come down and it will frequency match on all those different, or frequency, just take the strain out of it all the way around that 360 as well. So when it's all said and done, it will put a line on, give you a place to put a line on a shaft. What you're supposed to do is put that line at 12 o'clock in relationship to the golf club. So for this one, this right here is where you would put it, and it would be on top here. Okay. This thing is moving. Let's see. Yep, it's moving. Well, that's not funny. Well, there we go. I locked it back in. Okay, so, and what it does is it tells you in relationship, let's just say, see the head coming up in the back there? So this is where that line would be, and that's how you would orient it into the golf club. And that is puring. Now, another set of words that go with that is, you might have heard of spine and flow. Spine and flow is the analog version of the digital version of puring, meaning that what I do, and I do that here because puring is just the puring is just too expensive. What you do is I have a PVC tube with very nice bearings in it, and I put the shaft in it and I put a strain on it. What happens is the hard side will flip to the top, and that's where I'll make my mark. That's the hard side. Then what I will do is I will literally put the head in and I will twang it. And it goes up and down. In this neck of the woods, I will have connected a laser or a pin light, right? A pin laser. right here. And what I'm going to be looking for is to make sure that when this thing is bouncing, it's bouncing in a line like this, not like this or not like this, but like that, to put that in there. And that is the poor man's version of the same thing. Now, uh, the differences. Now, what the reality of it is that is the puring is a little more precise. However, it all depends on how you put it in the club, right? You can be a couple degrees off and throw it off. So that whole twanging part of it that does like that is vital to even the puring method. So you have to be very, very careful with that. I've seen some where they were facing the target. I've seen some where they put it behind the target. That's all speculation. Now again, that's another one of those chicken or egg things where there will be a handful of non-believers out there and there will be a handful of believers out there. Whichever which way you go, I still think it makes a more consistent golf club. All righty, there we go. Drew Brown, prayers to you, Jim. 107 is good for celebrating Dad's memory, brother. Thank you. I've got another one out there for when the family shows up. That one's a really good one. But for right now, 107 is it. Mr. P. Hola. What do you say, buddy? Jim, can you or Robin price Acura GX300 M5 driver shaft 46 inch length? Y'all can text me or I can call availability. Most certain. I think we can. And I do like the GX line. The GX line has been a real performer for us too. I really like the middle one, but you got to get past that green color. It doesn't fit a lot of clubs, but the blue and the red is something else. I will say that. And just to kind of give you an idea that the Shoguns I was telling you about is like the GXs on steroids. All righty. Taylor, in 2018, I nearly lost my dad to a heart attack. He's doing good. Works for a startup. Well, very cool. Way to go, Jim. Well, thank you, buddy. All right. Greg, I'll send you a message. There we go. Ah, yes. So this is what I was wanting to tell you guys. Thank you for reminding me. The rep, Dave, he came and he stopped by. And of course, it's the new year for the rotation. You can always tell what it's going to be. The Dynapowers are changing over. And I'm here to tell you, dude, if this is going to be what the future of the Forge Club looks like, it's going to be pretty freaking awesome. They changed if you remember, the power holes for the Dynapower. Let me show you. Here we go. Dynapower. So Dynapower, right? It's a nice, clean-looking club. I mean, it's a good club all on its own. Very wide sole, and it has those. What you're going to see going forward is a Dynapower and a Dynapower high launch. They're getting into that high launch category to go with the Mizunos and the Callaways and whatnot that are producing those clubs. Now, I can't show you a picture. I can't tell you too much about it. And I could have sworn I just made this thing. Let's do this. No, stop it. There we go. Anyway, this is going to look way better, right? I thought this was a clean look to begin with, but man, Harry and those guys over there have done a phenomenal job in doing an upgrade. The power holes are going to go away, at least on some of them, and it's going to be a slightly narrower sole. The first Dynapowers offset, those guys, this offset here is going to be smaller in my opinion. I don't have the specs, so I'm just talking off my head from my site. However, the high launch is going to be much more offset. So it's going to be the most forgiving club that they have. That is neat. All right. Now, from a woods perspective, I'm telling you, somebody has jumped on the adjustable bandwagon. These new heads that they've got coming out, Of course, you're always going to get the, hey, we took a little bit of weight out here so we can put weight there, blah, 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 blah. Okay, you can hear that from everybody. What they did, they went from the TI to the Carbon to an LS model to their flagship model to a basically a draw bias model. They're getting more in line with the rest of the industry, and the bottoms of these clubs are not one looks different than the other. Okay, one looks different than the other, and the shocker that caught me off guard was I think the draw bias one is going to be super duper cool. I think the standard one is going to, if it has the spring on it that I think it's going to have, that could be a workout. This is all just preliminary, but their version of what we'll call a triple diamond will probably entice a lot more people than you think because it's a tall face. It's a very tall face club. Man, I got something back there. Got a haircut today, and it's a tall face driver, which means that it looks small at address. That's the we'll call it the side effect of a tall face driver. So all you guys that are out there that think the golf club is just too big and just not very good, or just hard to look at, this will be a little bit fade bias, but it's going to look good at address. And they all look good in the bag. I mean, they did a one hell of an update, and even the fairways and their the fairways are going to be adjustable. At least one of them is, and the hybrids are still going to be bonded. The hybrids look pretty cool. They look a little bit more snazzy, and they're going to have Denali's and Ventus in them this year or coming year. So I expect some pretty good things out of them. PC, please accept my condolences. I wish I could be more involved tonight. I'm working on a new garage door seal. Well, you get PZ back up there where you're at. Garage door seals are extraordinarily important, brother. I take care of the house. This is just YouTube. There's Robin talking to Teresa. Robin talking to Drew. Simon Haywood, what do you say? Deepest condolences on the loss of your father. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that very much. And doggone it. Let's try this one then. And I appreciate that. Otis Olympi. Got here late. Sorry for your loss. Not a problem. Simon is from Australia. Well, that's pretty cool. Now we've got them all over. We're stretching the whole circumference, aren't we? Again, guys and gals, I know I'm pressing this one pretty hard, but if you would like and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, please do. If you haven't liked, please do. And let's get this out to a lot of people out there. I'm listening in the back at the office. Well, thank you. Daryl Wizard, Toronto, Canada. What happened to what's going on? Who died? My regards. What happened? What's going on? So, Daryl, just to tell you, to make the long story very short, my father passed away about 4 days ago, and well, it was 4 days ago, and he was last week. We talked about putting him into a nursing home, and his condition progressed rapidly, and thankfully. Last time we saw him, we got to play music, and he like I said, he went to scholarship on a music scholarship. Went to college on a music scholarship. He went to music on a college scholarship, and big band, old country western. He also liked Pink Floyd and Kansas because of the melodies that they created. There we go. Gary Musininsky. Well, thank you, buddy. Appreciate that. Jimmy, like you, have decided on the Dynaforge after playing a Demo 7 in my specs. Fell in love with it and just got the call my new set is in. Unfortunately, golf season in Atlantic Canada is done. Oh, I hate that for you, dude. We are getting them pretty readily, but I don't know what it would cost to ship them up there. But they are very nice. They are very, very nice. Is that Nova Scotia area or what's that? We used to have some friends up there. One was a very good club fitter, and he was a good golfer too. Wang, something like that. Anyway, very nice area up there. Now I have to do more research. Okay. Time for a refit. There we go. Jack King, what do you say, man? Man, we're getting all these new. I don't know if it's just the new thing, but we're getting all these new pictures and stuff. Sorry for your loss. Sorry to be so late, but better than never. You absolutely are correct, sir. And then we got here, Garulus, Garowis. There we go. Condolences to the family. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. John Lamb, he's made it back, and he's still got the same thing. Deepest condolences is never an easy time. Just remember the great times you had together, and that's what we are doing. That's what we are doing. That into the fact that that's what we're going to do when we. Dad did not want a service, so we're not going to do a service because it was all about that cost too much, and so the family's just going to get together and we're gonna play some music and enjoy the day with some good food, some good drinks, some good conversations, and then and get on with it. Drew Brown, Dyna Forged. I see you listening. Dyna Forged versus the 21 DCB. Ooh wee. Huh. Well, I would say this: the Dyna Forged is probably. Oh, let's see. Let me think about this for a minute. The DCB. You'll have a slightly wider sole on the Dyna Forged. So if you're a divot taker and want to get out of that a little bit, the Dyna Forged would help you a little bit more. The Dyna Forged has a narrower offset and not so much as the actual DCB. Now the Apex 21, very similar. Okay, the DCB will have a little bit more offset and a slightly narrower sole. The the DCB will look a little more compact at address, where the forged will look a little bit more generous at address. As far as specifications go, it's been a while since I've seen one. You might find that they might actually be pretty close to the same in loft, although I might give the nod to the DCBs of being maybe a degree stronger. As far as feel goes, the DCBs, even the Apexes, even at that time, they have a different sound. Although they are forged, it is a different sound. And is it a bad sound? No, it's just different. Where the Dyna Forge is more traditional, and that's where you can go with that. There we go. Wake him, Jim. He'll love it. Well, that's kind of where we're going with it. That's where we're going with it, Charlie. I'm going to set out a handful of bottles of one kind or another, and we'll have some fun with it. You know, I've actually been to one. When I was in high school, a friend of mine, his father passed, and they did a traditional Irish wake and propped him up in a corner in his casket. That was a unique day to say the least. I am here to tell you. Yeah, I wasn't ready for that one. Although they were serving beer, and I went over to go get one. They said, "You old enough for this?" I said, "Oh, I don't know. Am I old enough to see a dead man?" They said, "Well, good point, but no, you can't have one." So I tried, but the Irish know how to wake, man. All righty, Oh, I'm next door to Nova Scotia. I live in New Brunswick. Okay, my dad was a Nova Scotian, though a Korean War vet, served 32 years. Very good, sir, and congrats to your dad. Very glad to hear that. And then the Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia is intriguing. It's just getting there is a bit. You got to kind of either get around or fly. I'm not sure how to get there. Paul, what do you say, buddy? I appreciate it, sir. JCW, lost my father on the 28th of June. Condolences to you from Dornoch. I'll say it correctly. Dornoch Firth. All righty. And condolences to you. June's not that far away either, brother. And thank you so very much. And there we are. Okay, guys and gals. Sorry to have to bring you the awful tidings. I'm glad that you were here long enough to allow me to be able to talk about my dad. I think that's probably, this is probably some of the best, what they call it, therapy that you can possibly do to be able to get you through a lot of this. I do believe he was a good man, a good teacher. They always talk about being your best friend. He was never that. He was always my dad, and never made me stop learning. And that was always the way it was. Supremely gifted as far as sports was going. Just wish he'd pick up that technology a little bit better. Robin helped him out quite a bit in that arena, and that's where it's at. Glad we got to talk. So we did learn a little bit about how to do a proper paint fill. Learn that Wilson is upping their game in the way. We probably should hear some more from them. And they up their game in the golf balls as well. So we should see a little bit more from them. They're slowly creeping up. So with a new leader, maybe we're going to see some more coming out of them. Also, watch for the what we're going to do. The video on what to get prepared for the off season is going to be coming out, and we'll go from there. Again, if you guys have stayed all the way to the end, please hit that like and hit that subscribe button so that this thing gets a lot of reach and our channel gets out there. And guys, I appreciate it. Thank you for all the well wishes, and I appreciate that we've had so many other people on here. Hopefully, y'all come back and ask a whole bunch of golf questions so we can talk till 7. Again, thank you so very much, and let's see your scores go low.